Yeah. Now, as I have been mentioning, yes, this approximate 17 months of having me on trial, yes. Uh, I'm not crazy, okay? I needed to leave this 2 weeks available for the actual sleep study. Yeah. Now, I'm going to need rental assistance. But it seemed to me that the police and sheriff's departments, they are more concerned about me not suing them for the refusal to enforce the civil rights of American citizens. Now, the court found on page one that the respondent had actual notice, represented a credible threat, and was an intimate partner. Now, I documented in today's email that my sons are in the wrong grade. That's a credible threat to the development of children. Oh. Now, your refusal to enforce fraud laws, your refusal to admit the evidence, I wasn't in Brennan, and now your absolute insanity of refusing to enforce my custody rights when I have documented that the actual grades of three of my sons were in the Associated Press. Now, Jack, okay, attorney for defendant. I don't know exactly how much time you have to contact the defendant after the defendant has contacted you, but you canceling the court hearing on Friday 2 hours before, yes, I would think that I do have the right to reschedule when it does work for me because of a medical condition. Yes. Now, there's some civil rights issues here. Life, liberty, and property without due process. I didn't ask you why you canceled it and rescheduled it for Wednesday. You made that decision, and the first phone call you said it could be 9:30, it could be 2 p.m. You called me back within 15 minutes and you decided it was 2 p.m. without me having it available to communicate with you the importance of this week and the next week. Yes. See, as I explained to the doctor, I have to go to welfare and I have to get on Medicaid. Now, I've had some experiences with welfare where they seem to think that Mr. Budnick, yes, is not owed any food stamps, right, isn't owed any actual insurance for those that are homeless, yes, indigent, yes, and have a sleeping disorder. Now, I have been to welfare in Spokane, WACs. There's a reason why I didn't use my food stamps for the last 3.5 years. Okay. And there's a reason why I did not go on welfare until I had an actual need for some sort of expense. Now, let's say I get denied. I will sue the shit out of the welfare system. I needed to have it documented that this is what's really happening. I wasn't going down there just because I'm homeless. I needed to have Medicaid. Now, my experience has been, yes, that the sheriff's department right now has intentionally obstructed my every right for 7.5 years. Now, this morning, I woke up thinking, I'm going to get a phone call from my sons. I'm going to get a phone call from Marilyn. Yes, because I'm going to sue her. Even if she doesn't find me sexually attractive, I am going to sue for the use of the image of my sister in a Rotarian newsletter. Because Susan Bowers, right, my biological sister, is the actual image that was used, and the only way that Mike or Marilyn could have any knowledge of her was because of my biological sister being my biology. Now, I know that this yes, contra rationem juris introducta, sunt non debent trahi e consequentiam. Things introduced contrary to the reason of the law ought not to be drawn into a precedent. What is contrary to the reason of the law? Because some of these lawsuits, they're going to set some precedents. And it's not that I'm going to take them before the Washington State Supreme Court. I've seen how they look at things. It's that I'm going to sue each and every Superior Court judge. Every justice in every Supreme Court's going to get sued. Now, when I introduce what is contrary to the reason of the laws, that should not be drawn into a precedent, but what should be drawn into every precedent-setting lawsuit is those that are the reason of the law, not what is contrary. That's right. Now, let's say 2011, you decide to issue a protection order. Contrary to the law of jurisdiction, yes, you did not have the authority of law. 7.5 years later, what do we find out? When you do something contrary to the law, yes, notice an opportunity to be heard, yes, before a fair and impartial judiciary, yes. Anytime you do what is contrary to the law, it has resulted in an immense amount of damages. Now, Mr. Court Commissioner, that makes the excuse at your discretion. We're going to set some precedents that if any fucking judge in this nation right now ever takes it upon themselves to not protect the due process rights of the parties, they can immediately be apprehended, arrested, and put in prison right now. Because things introduced contrary to the reason of the law ought not be drawn into a precedent. That means that everything introduced as the reason of the law, yes, should be drawn into any precedent-setting lawsuit. Now, for every idiot fucking judge in the United States of America, I'm telling you, every one of you will find yourselves in prison. Oh, choo. Now, I like this one. Q mala sunt inchoata, intuit, in principle vix bono prerogatur exitur. Things bad in the commencement seldom end well. Now, things bad in the commencement. You've heard of the commencement speech before? Yes. It's that speech where those individuals are graduating from high school or university. Yes. It's something very important. Now, usually when you begin your education, that's the commencing of it, and then there's the commencement speech. Yes, at the start of the graduation ceremony. Yeah. Let's say that you decide to issue a protection order on July 8th of 2011. What had commenced did not start well. Started bad. Number one, I did not get notice or opportunity to be heard. Yes. Let's say you filed a petition for dissolution of marriage. Right. Didn't start well. You had me arrested at the same moment as serving me. Yes. For the allegation of violating the protection order where you had no jurisdiction of law. Now, everything this court has done has not ended well. Now, what you have not experienced is the actual consequences of your refusal to acknowledge the laws. I'm sitting here in the study room, right, and I'm waiting to sue you. Now, these lawsuits that are going to commence, yes, they will end well because I will make sure, yes, and I know you say, well, I'm not an attorney. Let's say I was sitting with an attorney. Why don't you explain to me the lawsuit? Because this is the question they'll get. And they'll say, well, here's a copy of it. It could be 50 to 10,000 pages. I'll look through it and I'll read it. Yeah, I kind of read fast, and then you explain to me oh, exactly why this is going to end well. I do not commence lawsuits unless I'm sure of exactly what the lawsuit talks about. In fact, oftentimes I will use individuals, yes, that are somewhat illiterate. I know. I don't speak legalese. Latin is not my first language. Yes. But if you can't explain it to myself and some other person that's not that literate exactly what the lawsuit is, I'm going to give it back to you and you're going to rewrite it. We commence every lawsuit well so that it ends well. Now, when you think about the damages of ending well, pooch, you can be absolutely fucking sure that I will make sure that